Problem number 13. Find the x-intercepts. So I want you guys to go through the process and say, okay, what do I need to do? Find the x-intercept. Okay, to find the x-intercept, I remember that I need to let y equal to 0. So y becomes 0. And now from here, we can factor it. Or you can try, we cannot complete the square because there's a coefficient for the x squared. That's the 5. If we just had x squared minus 2x minus 7, then we can complete the square since this number is even. You can also use the quadratic formula if you want, but it's going to be a lot more work. In this case, factoring will be the easiest. And just by looking at the answers, I know I should be able to factor. Factors of 5x squared will be 5x and x. Factors of negative 7 will be 7 and 1. That gives me 5, that gives me 7. I'm going to place my negative here, my positive here. Now, I'm going to use the zero product property. Since this is equal to 0, tells me that one of my factors, when you multiply two numbers together, one of them has to be 0 or both. So my zero product property allows me to set each one equal to 0. Move the 7 to the right becomes a positive. Divide by 5. 1 divided by 5, divide by 5. X is equal to 7 over 5. Move the 1 to the right becomes a positive 1. Negative 1, right? Just be careful when you select the answers. They all look very similar. So positive 7/5 and negative 1. And they left this one as an improper fraction, which is fine. Ideally, you want to be able to change it to a mixed fraction, which will be 1 and 2/5. But if they give it to you as an improper fraction, that's fine. You go and select it. Question number 14. It says, which order pair is the vertex? So I'm looking for the vertex. That should give you a clue that you need to use your vertex formula. Your vertex formula is x is equal to negative b over 2a. Remember, the vertex, you are looking for a point. And just by looking at the answers, you should be able to notice that this is not both x values. One of them is an x, the other one is a y. So I just need to plug in the information. We have the value of a, b, and c. I'm going to find the x value for the vertex by using this formula. B is negative 4. A is 1. Negative and negative is a positive 4. Multiplied by 2 times 1 is 2. So 4 divided by 2 gives me 2. My x value is 2. So I know it's not A and it's not B. I need to find the y value, so I'm going to plug it in. So y is equal to, remember, this stands for f of x or just y. We have x squared minus 4x plus 9. But instead of the x will be a 2. 2 squared is 4. Y is equal to 4 minus 8 plus 9. Y is equal to negative 4 plus 9. That is equal to 5. Therefore, my answer is B. My vertex is a point 5, 2. Remember, your vertex represents your lowest point or your highest point. This parabola is facing up. So in this case, your vertex represents the minimum, the lowest point on the parabola. Problem number 15. What are the solutions to the equation? We need to be able to find the solutions. We need to solve. If there was no 3 on the front, then we can complete the square since this is even. But since we have a coefficient, we cannot complete the square. We can try factoring. By just looking at the answers, I know I cannot factor it. Therefore, I'm forced to use the quadratic formula. We have x equals opposite b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Remember, we are using the discriminant. We're going to plug that in inside the square root. This is a value of A, value of B, and value of C. X equals opposite B. This is a negative 2, so this will be positive 2. All over 2A. And the discriminant will be inside the square root, so we have B squared minus 4AC. B is negative 2. A is 3. And C is 3. Negative 2 squared is positive 4. That is negative 12 times 3. 4 minus 36 gives me negative 32. That gives me a negative inside the square root. If I have a negative inside the square root, I know the answer has to have an imaginary number. So it's not A, it doesn't have an I, and it's not B. So let's simplify. X is equal to 2 plus or minus. I'm going to separate my fraction. It will be over 6 and over 6. When I take the square root of 32, I'm going to do my factor tree. So it gives me 4 times 8. That gives me 2 and 2. That gives me 4 times 2 and then 2 and 2. If I place them all together, I'm going to take out my twins. That's one of them. That's the other one. So outside, I'm going to have a 2 and a 2. Inside, I'm going to have a 2. So it gives me 4 square root of 2. Or you can think, square root of 32 is 16 times 2. Square root of 16 is 4. But since there was a negative inside, I end up with my I. Don't forget your I. And now I'm going to reduce my fraction. Gives me x is equal to 1 over 3 plus or minus. I'm going to reduce my 4 and 6. Remember, you cannot reduce your 2 because it's inside the square root. So 4 and 6 I'm going to divide by 2. Gives me 2 over 3. That gives me 2 over 3. So it'll be 2i square root of 3. Notice that I just reduced my 4 and my 6. This part stayed the same. Therefore, my answer is letter. This is positive 1/3. That's negative. Positive 1/3. If you're going to start to cancel out answers or try to guess before you simplify, you have to be very careful. If you want to be able to think, okay, I must separate this. So it gives me positive 1/3. That's fine without having to simplify. That's okay if it's on the multiple choice, but on the open response, you do need to show me the entire process. Problem number 16. Which, if I is equal to the square of negative 1, which point shows the location of negative 8 plus 2i minus negative 4 plus 9i? We have two complex numbers that are subtracting. Now, this is not very helpful on this problem. The fact that I is equal to the square of negative 1, it doesn't provide any help unless you end up with the nice square. But then we know that I squared is equal to negative 1. But in this case, we have a minus, so we just want to distribute the negative to each one of them. We're going to end up with negative 8 plus 2i. Negative and negative is a positive 4. Negative and positive is a negative 9i. Remember, it's like distributing the negative 1. From here, I'm just going to combine like terms. That gives us a negative 4 minus 7i. So from here, I just select. Remember, this is your real part, imaginary. It's already labeled for you. That means I'm going to go to the left 4, and then I'm going to go down 7. Your real part takes you left to right, imaginary part up and down. Because it's negative, you go to the left. Because it's negative, you go down. So left 4, down 7, it's going to be letter C. Problem number 17. What is the equivalent of 5 over 7 plus 5i? Since I have an imaginary number, I want to get rid of the imaginary number by multiplying by what we call the conjugate. To multiply by the conjugate is going to be 7 plus minus 5i. Remember, we only change the imaginary part to the opposite. With 7 minus 5i. We are going to use our distributive property to multiply. So 5 times 7 will be 35. 5 times negative 5 is negative 25i. Denominator. 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times negative 5i is negative 35i. 5i times 7 is positive. Let's round together. So 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times negative 5i is negative 35. 5i times 7 is positive 35i. Positive I times negative 5 is negative 25i squared. I'm not going to combine my like terms, but in this case they cancel out. I know that I squared is equal to negative 1 times negative 25 becomes a positive 25. Combine like terms. On top I have 35 minus 25i. Notice I separated. And 49 plus 25 will give me 74. Therefore, my answer will be with the minus in between, not this one, not this one, and that'll be letter B. And let's go over the last problem. Problem number 18. What is the solution? To solve it, we can distribute. We're going to draw the line. A lot of you guys are very tempted to distribute the 2. You can't. I'm going to move the 9 to the right. We can say negative 9. We have 2. X plus 2 squared is equal to 72. From here, I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. The 2's will cancel. So I have x plus 2 squared is equal to 36. Now I can get rid of the square. I can take the square root on the left and the right. The square and the square cancel, so I have x plus 2 is equal to 36 will be 6, but since I took the square root on both sides, I'm going to have plus or minus. That means that I'm going to have 2 solutions. I still need to leave the x by itself. I'm going to move my 2 to the right, becomes a negative 2. That means I'm going to have 2 solutions. I'm going to have x is equal to negative 2 plus 6, and x is equal to negative 2 minus 6. So one with a positive, one with a negative. That will give me 4, and that will give me negative 8. 4 and negative 8, my answer is letter A. So that will conclude the lesson for today. Please email me if you have any questions. I'll be here before and after school to the day before the test to help any of you guys that need additional help. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video, and please review your formulas and the difference between factoring, completing the square by square roots, which is what we just did right now, and quadratic formula.